Well, gang, it's time again for ham radio perspectives, and we are delving into the universe, the future of AI and all the things that are coming in from high-tech areas such as the Gotham V-80 vertical. Wow. What an antenna, Tom, that thing was. A classic. We'll look at how many of those they sold for $16.95, and then they had to raise the price originally. But when you go back and talk to hams who were around in the 60s and 70s like us, Tom, it was that Gotham antenna, or one of the Gotham antennas, especially the
Right.
cheap verticals that everybody talked about over and over again. Very, very popular. And there it is, Tom.
Yep. I remember it, and it is a much maligned classic. So
Yeah, right on the.
we probably got a couple. We probably got a few stories to tell about it, Quinn.
Yeah, we have stories to tell. Others probably do. And on the very bottom of the image of the antenna, you can see what made it exciting, and that is that little coil on the bottom. I remember that well because all you do is tap that coil with the center of your coax, and then you have some type of ground. They didn't say you had to have any ground system or anything, and you were off and running, man. This sucker
Right.
would work the world. It was quite amazing. That old Gotham, even that using that name Gotham, I thought was so great, Tom. Here are a couple of ads for it. The one on the left is the one that I remember the type of ad the most, where they had simply the different models of different antennas. And you can see down here towards the bottom where it says verticals. And of course, V-80 meant 80, 40, 20, 15, 10, and 6 because they didn't have the work bands back then. By this time, it was already up to $38. I don't know. That's sky high for a vertical. 23 feet tall. They were all the same. They just changed the coil a little bit, right?
Right. And
This was
I
hot.
probably every novice in the country at the time probably started with that. I remember those ads in both QST and 73 magazine. So yeah, I got mine
Oh,
for I got mine for my grade school graduation from 8th grade. It was amazing. And I got a story to go along with that.
all right. Before you get into your story, let's look a little bit more closely at that ad on the right. I pulled out a couple of a little bit closer shot here, Tom, from that ad. This is so great. It says, an appeal to intelligence. That was you and me as novices. We were intelligent
That's right.
hams. And a product that is consistently advertised in QST month after month, year after year, has to be good. Over 10,000 Gotham antennas have been purchased by QST readers alone. Even the price is no object customers, the real richies. Choose Gotham
Right.
antennas on the basis of performance and value. And if you want to check it out, you airmail us an order today and we will ship it tomorrow. And if you don't believe us, here are the facts. If K6I can do it, so can you. And you see on the right-hand side there, is K6I the world's champion DX operator? And it talks about this letter they got from him saying all of these countries, he's worked 100 countries and this and that. Doesn't say anything about where they were in the sunspot. It may have been the sunspot was so great that you could have worked people with nothing. But if he can do it, you can too. Absolutely no guying required, Tom. No radios required.
That's because I it was so light you wouldn't need any guy wires. In fact, then the 80-mile-an-hour wind, the thing would probably fold over on itself.
Yeah, a little piece of
It was the
aluminum.
thinnest wall. It was the thinnest wall aluminum I have ever seen.
Yeah. only a few square inches of space needed. You could have put that sucker in a flower pot on your deck, and it would have worked. 4 metal mounting straps furnished. Of course, doesn't say where you'd where you'd strap it to. Presumably, you'd strap it to a ground rod, which is what most of us use. We just put in a little ground rod and strap this thing to it in the bottom, and that was it. Special B&W. What was that? Something in Williamson. Barker and Williamson?
Barker and Williamson.
Yeah, loading coil furnished. Every vertical is complete. So you can imagine yourself getting excited in QST magazine, Tom, seeing the ad here. You're going to put this order in right away. It's going to come in days. You're going to take it out of that box. In seconds, you're going to have it up and operating. It's complete, ready to use. You'll be on the air instantaneously, almost anyway. Now, this was such a classic, Tom, that QST in June of 2021 did a piece here, and he had a little bit from the ad for it. He showed this drawing, and this is the essence of it. Right here, you can see in the drawing that little coil, Tom. That was it right there. That was the secret sauce for the Gotham V-80 vertical.
That made it all work.
Right. So you just get the center wire in your coax, and they had this. I remember, I think they even had it. No, it wasn't even a Phillips screwdriver. It was a regular screw, and you just tap right into that coil. Right. You'd have to experiment with it up and down the coil to get to a decent SWR. Right. And then it shows coax to ground. It doesn't say what kind of ground. Presumably, you didn't need one. And you're up and running. It was magic. And this is what they said in the article. I love this. The company's model V-80 vertical was their flagship product. Well advertised, kind of like MFJ products over the years, and easily produced their most popular antenna, and rightly so. At $16.95 plus shipping, it was very economical. Some folks were too afraid to buy the V-80 because it couldn't be high quality at such a low price. But Gotham also manufactured a model V-40 and a V-60, but those are basically same as the V-80, just with changes to the coil stock. So there's the V-80 that you and I use, Tom. You tell your V-80 story, I'll tell mine.
Okay, well, I got my V-80 from my parents bought it for me for my grade school 8th grade graduation. And I was licensed about six months prior to that. And I had used a piece of, I was using a piece of iron stove wire for an antenna. And that didn't work out very well. Every time I get on the air, 15 meters banging away on CW, if my dad was listening to the stereo or the TV, I'd hear on the floor. I was in the basement and I had to shut down. So in order to make peace, he got me the Gotham antenna. And I remember it was $16.95 with $4 shipping. So it came in just over $20. And my dad had a fit about it costing more than $20 for an 8th grade graduation present. So anyway, we got the thing set up. We put a 1.5 inch, 4-foot length of water pipe in the ground right next to the chimney of the house so it wouldn't be visible from the street. My dad was very particular about how the house looked. And in his wisdom, he ran a couple of radials, aluminum wire buried under the ground as a ground. And we started off playing around with the coil tap on there, which was just a bent piece of metal with a screw in it. So
yeah.
in order to tune it, I had to go out from the basement, go around to the side of the house, go to the chimney, unscrew the tap, move it to the next band, screw it back on, and run back down, check the standing wave. If that didn't work out well, I had to move it one way or the other. Finally get it. I mean, it was a pain changing bands. So eventually I learned about what an antenna tuner was. and I got to the point where if I just put the tap on the bottom of the coil, I could pretty much tune in 40, 15, or yeah, 40, 15, 10 meters, I think we had as far as novices go, and tune it in with the antenna tuner. What so happened that that little piece of metal, which was steel, against the coil, finally corroded. So I'd had enough of moving that tap around. So I went out with a propane torch and started to solder the center of my coax to the bottom of the coil. Well, in doing so, I melted the insulators that were holding the coil form together. And the long short of the story was I ended up using the Gotham antenna as the high end of a sloper.
And how did that work?
It worked out very well on 15 meters. That was about the only band I could tune with it, but at least I had an antenna. Things didn't
Yeah,
improve until I moved out of the house.
I hear you. Yeah. So, okay, so a little bit about my story with that antenna. It's not exactly the same as yours, but it bears some similarity. I think all stories with this antenna more or less the same. I That's why we called this a much maligned classic. It was the maligning this antenna because it was so simple, such a simple idea, but really it was all word of mouth as to what you did with the ground system, and the ground system was going to make it work or not. But I didn't know that. I'm a new novice. I got this thing. I get about a foot and a half piece of plumbing pipe, which I take a hammer, bang it into the ground, and I attach this thing to the bottom of that, bring the center of the coax over, and tried to get it working. I didn't use the ground of the coax for anything. I just had the center of the coax coming out because that's all it showed. It said the other went to ground. I didn't know what that meant. It went to ground, the, the outer shield of the coax. So I attached it to the coil and would move it up and down and run inside. I had my Heathkit SWR meter that I had put together. That was a cheapo thing too, and I could never get that SWR low. But with the old rigs, I think I was running a Heathkit transmitter or something. You could kind of get it tuned just enough, and I would occasionally work somebody with that thing. But the problem was, Tom, that I purchased it in the middle of the winter in Chicago, and running outside in the snow and ice without gloves on to try to move that tap and to
Right.
try and make it better when I had no ground. And if I had any ground with everything frozen, it wouldn't have made any difference anyway. This went on for about 2 months that winter, trying this antenna. And I got so disgusted with it. I thought this is a piece of junk. And I made a dipole antenna, I think for 40 meters, and put that up, and it worked. It worked. It worked. I didn't have any balun on it or anything, but that sucker so outperformed this Gotham that when it started to warm up in the spring, I took that Gotham off of the piping that was in the ground, and I took my hammer and I smashed the daylights out of that sucker, bent it in half, and then in thirds, and threw it in the trash to be picked up. That was the end of the Gotham V-80 for me, man, right then and there. And I never went back to it. So my results were not good, but the fact was that even though it said intelligence in that ad, Tom, I was not an intelligent operator. I since
But
learned a
you had
lot
mentioned in the
about
winter,
grounds.
on that coil. You remember when it would get icy and all the coils would short out together and you had to defrost the coil before you could tune it?
Yeah, that was the other thing.
It wasn't a
It
it wasn't a covered coil.
No, at least you had a blowtorch. I was out there with matches. My brother, who was a big cigarette smoker, had a bunch of matches around the house, so I would run out there and start a match, and put it over by the coil and try and get rid of that ice on there. Oh boy, remembering the Gotham V-80 vertical, a much maligned classic. So everybody, if you have your memories of the Gotham V-80, post them down below. Tell us what you think. And I want to say one other thing, Tom, about Gotham, kind of redeem their reputation a little bit. You remember our old buddy Rick, WA9RCQ, since passed away. Well, Rick was a big DXer, and he switched antennas from a single band 15-meter beam, which was a Gotham beam, to a tri-bander of some kind with traps. And so he gave me the 15-meter monobander. And I put that up at about 20 feet up with a single mast. The Armstrong method, I had to run outside, to tune it around. And I put that sucker up. And once I got that up on 15 meters and I could tune that around, it worked like a champ. That was a good antenna on 15 meters. And it was really cheap because he gave it to me for nothing. I don't know if he thought it was worth nothing, but to me, it was better than anything else I had. So Gotham also made some decent stuff as well. The coil on that for that beam was, I think, very much like the coil that they used in the vertical, probably the same thing, just not the same length. So everybody, tell us what you think. Subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate you watching. This is where you find super intelligence for ham radio. It's Ham Radio Perspectives. I'm Quinn, K8QS.
And I'm Tom, WA9TDD.
Oh, we have fun, Tom. 73, everybody.